Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding literacy teacher educator on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. And this is the Get Literate podcast, a podcast where we explore the power of reading and writing to cultivate a life we love. Each week, I offer a bit of bibliotherapy and share 3 books you need to know about on a bookish theme to fuel our reading hearts and help us grow through what we go through. But that's not all. I also invite you to extend those bookish themes into your own life through notebooking, lifelong learning, and creativity to experience the life-changing magic of reading in our lives. And the best part? Each episode is only 20 minutes or less, so you can spend less time listening and more time reading. Now, on to today's episode. Hey everyone, Stephanie here. So grateful to welcome you to episode 17 of the Get Literate podcast. I hope you've had a great start to your week. Of course, filled with books, lots of margin and white space in your day to read them, and good things to look forward to. Now, I've got a fun episode today, and I want to make sure you stay through the end because I am doing a giveaway of a beautiful picture book to someone who has responded to my question of what they might like to hear next on the podcast. So maybe that's you, so be sure to stick through to the end. Now, just a few days ago, I finally got to read and I finished reading Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. Oh, this book. I honestly cannot get this book off of my reading heart. And I've had a hard time starting a new book because of that. Something that never ever happens. I even went online to my social media and said, help. I'm not sure where to go next after reading a book that was as powerful as this. Now, in Lessons in Chemistry, we meet Elizabeth Zott. Now, she has quite a formidable presence. She's a chemist, and she approaches everything in her life through the lens of chemistry. Her work, her relationships, parenting, to food, and even to how she thinks the world works. The book was so inspiring, and it was a fiction book, but it certainly gave me a lot to think about in terms of nonfiction aspects of how the world works. I won't go into the book details because I am absolutely certain I will be bringing it up on a later episode of the podcast, but it really did give me a whole new perspective and opened my eyes to a whole lot of things, especially change, the need for change, our want for change, our fear of change, all things change. And I want to actually read you a quote from the book that just stopped me in my tracks. Whenever you feel afraid, just remember, courage is the root of change, and change is what we are chemically designed to do. So when you wake up tomorrow, make this pledge. No more holding yourself back. No more subscribing to others' opinions of what you can and cannot achieve. And no more allowing anyone to pigeonhole you into useless categories of sex, race, economic status, and religion. Do not allow your talents to lie dormant, ladies. Design your own future. When you go home today, ask yourself what you will change and then get started. And then get started. That quote inspired the theme of today's episode. How can we get started designing our own futures? How can we get started changing our lives in the direction it wants to go? Well, good place to start is with some books. So today I have 3 how-to books for you, and they literally have how-to in the title to help us design a future that we love and change our lives however we want to change them. So let's get started. The first book I am excited to share with you is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. How to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life. Now, if you want to turn your life around, if you want to make a drastic change in the way you feel about yourself about the people around you, about the world, about what you're capable of, about what your potential is and what you deserve, you need to start with this book. Jen gives us this no-nonsense vibe of what we need to do to find our greatness, but it is quite funny. So it's got this great balance. There's no sugarcoating her advice. You have to do the work. But her honesty, her extremely practical suggestions, and yes, her funny anecdotes of how she arrived at this wonderful place makes this a book not to be missed. Now, I just want to read the part chapters. This book is divided into parts to help us get started, and I love the practical action inside of them. So part 1, how you got this way, meaning how have you gotten to where you are right now? The mindset you have, the expectations you have, and how can we just blast through them for something different? So part 1, how you got this way. Part 2, how to embrace your inner badass. Part 3, how to tap into the mother load. So think meditation and intention and gratitude here. Part 4, how to get over your BS already. I love this one. What do you do once you figure out that you're ready to change? What about procrastination and perfection and overwhelm and fear and drama and all the things? And then we get to part 5, how to kick some ass. This book has everything you need. And honestly, here's the big takeaway that I personally walked away from this book from. We can literally have anything we want in life if we think we deserve it first. Let me say that again. We can literally have anything we want in life if we think we deserve it first, right? The rest is just icing on the cake, right? It's icing that takes hard work to bring this kind of idea to life, but it can happen effortlessly, as Jen shares with us, if our minds are open to accepting new possibilities first, and then if we're willing to act accordingly. So this book just opens your mind to a whole nother level of thinking. And then if we shift our mindset, we shift the language we use, and we shift the way we talk to ourselves, then great things can happen. I loved this book. I reread this book and then reread this book again and truly learned so much from reading this, right? So I can confidently say, right, I am a badass. Feels so weird saying that word so many times in this podcast episode, but I'm not alone in my thinking. It is a #1 New York Times bestseller with over 2 million copies sold. And so I think this is a great place to start if you want to change your life. I actually did an episode earlier in the podcast with 3 other books that can change your life, not how-to books, but just other books. And many of you wrote in saying, this one you need to add to your list. And I couldn't agree more. So You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Now, next up is a book that I think is a wonderful compliment, because if we are so busy being badasses and designing our own life that we love, who the heck is cleaning the house? So the second book I want to share is a little bit of a lighter note, but it is called How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis. And that's Casey with 2 initials, a K and a C. So we can only balance so many things, right? When I found out that I was pregnant with my first son, I had just taken a new, bigger position than I was used to in education, and I was starting in 1 week. And I was so afraid to tell my new boss, thinking that she'd think I deceived her when truly I had just found out. I finally got the courage up to tell her that I would need to be taking a maternity leave soon. And she took me aside and she sat me down and she said, I want to tell you a story. She said, we all have things that we are juggling in life: work, family, friendship, hobbies, all of the things. And she said, if you can learn right now that some of those balls are made of glass and some of those balls are made of rubber, then you're going to make out very well in life. She said, our family is a glass ball. If we drop it, it breaks. Work's a rubber ball. If we drop it, it bounces back. Maybe not in the same exact place or in the same exact way, but it does bounce back. I've never forgotten that. She not only made me feel excited, about taking the position and then taking the leave, but she gave me a life lesson. And I constantly ask myself, Stephanie, is this a glass ball or is this a rubber ball? And are you juggling the wrong things? So for me, cleaning house, well, it's not a glass ball. My husband, the kids, the dogs, the things inside of the home are made out of glass balls. But, cleaning the house, that is definitely a rubber ball task. My house is dusty. The floorboards are scuffed. There is clutter from all of us, not too much, but some. I mean, if the dogs don't take their shoes off when they're in the house, why should I? Right? Now, this often comes with a lot of guilt for me and a lot of frustration because I want things to look a certain way, but I just don't have the energy or the desire after all of those glass balls are taken care of. So this book definitely got my attention. How to Keep House While Drowning, a gentle approach to cleaning and organizing. I love the entire purpose of this book. Throughout every page, it claims the purpose of housework is to serve us, not the other way around. Why are we so worried about keeping our house a certain way instead of making sure our house is serving the kind of life we want to have? So there are no rules of house cleaning. There are no must-dos, no single way to create a feel-good routine or a feel-good home for the life we live. It depends on us. It depends on how we want to live, how we need to function in our home, not how we need to keep it Instagram perfect. So Casey Davis walks us through a lot of practical activities and a lot of mindset shifts to think about how we can reframe how we keep track of our home. And even though it may not seem like it's life-changing advice, it kind of is. If you can let go of guilt and frustration, if you can let go of so many of those tasks on your to-do list that cause you stress, that you put first before the things that really matter because you want it to look a certain way, that actually can change your life. I personally loved a chart that she had called the impact and effort chart, right? So what are the things that have the highest impact but the lowest effort? Let's start there. And then let's see where it goes. That was definitely my favorite. But my favorite quote, I loved this. And she offers this quote as something that we can say to others who may criticize what our home looks like, or those who may kind of, look down at us a bit because our house is a little bit in disarray more than theirs. But I was thinking that I needed to tell myself this quote all the time. You ready? Here it is. The key for me being able to run a functioning home was when I stopped talking to myself the way you're talking to me right now. Mic drop, right? I have to keep telling myself this. The key for me to be able to run a functioning home is when I stop talking to myself the way I am talking to myself right now. That should be a mantra when we are getting more stressed over the way things look rather than how they function or how they feel. I don't think that phrase can get any better than that. So if you need a mindset shift, if you need a permission list or a permission slip to let go of your perfectionistic tendencies inside the home, then this book is for you. It truly could be life-changing advice. Now, the third book I want to share, I'm not saying I saved the best for last because I love all three of these books. But if I'm honest, this book that I'm going to share next has already started changing my life, like literally. And I'm not kidding. I've never met a book, I've never read a book or met a person, the author, who has made me question everything about how I think and how my mind has come to be here, how my mind works, our bodies work, how the world works, how our energy works, and how happiness happens. I've never had that experience until Kathy Heller. And the book I want to share with you that she has written is called Don't Keep Your Day Job: How to Turn Your Passion into Your Career. Now, I've labeled Kathy as my hummingbird. You're like, wait, what? You called her your what? Well, I called her my hummingbird. And if you have read Hummingbird by Natalie Lloyd, an incredibly beautiful middle grade novel, then you know what I'm talking about, right? The hummingbird in that story helps people figure out their true intention, what they truly want, all the other fluff, all the guilt, all the other stuff aside. What do you want to do with your life? And what do you need right now in the moment? The hummingbird helps the characters do that. And Kathy Heller helps everybody else. I don't know how she does it, but in her book, in her podcast, in her Instagram, and her live events, she sees potential in people that we often do not see in ourselves. And it's magical the way she brings that out of us. And she puts that magic into the pages of this book. Now, you might think that this book is just about quitting your day job and following that passion project so you can make money doing what you love. And it kind of is, but that is not all. This book is about finding yourself. It's about finding what you love in life, leaning into it wholeheartedly with the belief that good things can happen, and then simply seeing where it goes. I have so many sticky flags throughout this book, and I wanted to share a couple of the quotes that I highlighted, that I flagged, that are in my quote notebook, that are stuck to a sticky note on my office wall, because I want you to see the potential that's inside of this book. So the first one, right off the bat on page 1, the opposite of depression is not happiness. The opposite of depression is purpose. Let me say that again without messing it up, because it's so powerful. The opposite of depression is not happiness. The opposite of depression is purpose. Right off the bat, she sets the stage. The next quote that really just got me right in the gut. We live the lives we are willing to tolerate. We live the lives we are willing to tolerate. That's a big one. And she spends a lot of time unpacking what that means. Another one that I loved that really gave me a mindset shift about trying new things and trying those new things publicly, like starting a podcast, is rejection is just redirection. Look at rejection as redirection and as a sign actually pointing you in a different direction, so you'll find what's meant for you. I mean, if that's not a game changer, I don't know what is. That just takes the fear of trying something new, showing up for a new photography class, cooking a new dish, starting a new blog, whatever it is. If it doesn't work, big deal. Now you know where you're supposed to go. That was a huge one for me. And then the last one is related. It says, we live the life we think we deserve. We live the life that thinks. These quotes, I'm just messing them all up today. We live the life we think we deserve. So this book is about following your dreams, but it's about the power of our thoughts. And what we think matters not only to our mind, but to our physical body. And what our physical body feels matters to what we think and what happens next. So this book really is, it's about a new way to look at your life and just how to follow the yeses, how to follow what you love and see where it goes. And don't worry about the checklist. Don't worry about doing things right. Don't worry about all of those details that will tell you to not try the thing. Just do it. See how you feel, see where it goes, and we might actually surprise ourselves, and the universe might surprise us in the process too. So I think this is a book that you need to read for sure. And the good news is that she's got another book on the way in 2023 on abundance. So we'll be excited to hear, or I will be excited to hear more from Kathy Heller in the future. So how do we bring this bookish theme to life in our actual lives? How do we become a badass? How do we clean our house without drowning? And how do we not keep our day job and find something that we love? It all boils down to one piece of advice that Elizabeth Zott gave us in Lessons in Chemistry. Embrace change. Be Elizabeth Zott. I want you to think this week, how can you embrace change? How can you expect change? How can you demand change? Change in yourself, change in others around you, and even changes in the world. What role do you play in all of that? And then just decide one little thing that might come next for you. It doesn't have to be a big life change. It could be one little thing, taking a walk outside with a friend. It could be signing up for a new class. It could be having a hard conversation that you haven't wanted to have, right? Decide what comes next, choose that one thing, and do it. The action will help you shift your mindset. We need to start messy. We need to see what kinds of new things we attract by shifting the way we think and shifting the actions that we take, right? What is that saying? If you do the same old thing, you'll get the same old result. These books show us that really small changes can make big things possible. And I'd always love to know what kinds of ways you are bringing this bookish theme into your life. So you can comment in the show notes at alitlife.com, or you can find me on your favorite social media platform and let me know which books have resonated with you. And of course, which how-to books with how-to in the title have helped you change your life or are on your TBR list. Now, I promise if you stayed to the end, you would find out who our book winner is this week. So this week, I am sharing a beautiful new picture book called Dressing Up the Stars, the story of movie costume designer Edith Head. This is written by Jean Walker Harvey and illustrated by Diana Toledano. This book is beautiful. I can't describe the illustrations and give them the credit they deserve, but they are simply beautiful with muted colors, and they hook the reader. Not only does the story hook the reader of someone who followed her dreams, literally changed her life on her own terms, but the pictures just complement it so well. So Tara Barnett, you are the winner of Dressing Up the Stars. Thank you for reaching out to me and suggesting some ideas for where the podcast might head next. I plan to do this just about every week. It's pretty fun to give away books. So if you have ideas for the podcast, if you need 3 particular books in your life and you're not sure where to turn, let me know. Find me on social media, send me an email or direct message, and you never know. You could end up with a new book in your mailbox quite soon. So that's it for me today. Thanks so much for listening and happy reading. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at www.alitlife.com. You'll also find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life there, like book lists, notebooking ideas, personalized book recommendations, and an invitation to join my Get Literate members community. Each month, we take a deep dive into one bookish theme and work to bring it to life in our own lives. You'll get a monthly bibliotherapy book calendar with a book recommendation for every day of the month, bonus episodes, live book club sessions, and much more. Learn more at www.getliterate.co.